Hey guys, Rick here for Cage Side Convos, episode 12.
And this is Quince from Hold Down Upstate. Good to be back. Today we're actually live in studio right at Watertown Mixing with a good friend of mine, Danny Allen. Thank you for having us in here, man.
Thanks, man.
Yes.
Excited to be here with you guys.
Excellent. So Danny is the head audio engineer here at the Watertown location at Watertown Mixing. Professional audio engineer. Is that?
That's it.
Is this? I mean, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Tell me, man, is this your dream job?
Absolutely, man.
This is your dream job.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Why music?
I mean, why not music? It sure beats the heck out of making coffees for people and stuff like that, you know. No, that's a really big question, but it comes down a lot to like it's something that I'm passionate about and it's something that I can't go without.
Mm-hmm.
Music is part of my everyday. It's when I'm in the car, it's when I'm at home, it's when I'm in the shower, anytime. I'm either always singing, not that I'm a singer, but I'm either singing or I'm listening to music or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I love working with people on creating something.
Sure. So it's a passion, it's a purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you get it? So we talk a lot about nature versus nurture on the program. Do you think this is something that was maybe passed down through lineage or through family members, or is this a passion that you kind of formed
Absolutely.
yourself?
Yeah. So, almost all of my family members are musically talented in one way or another. A lot of my siblings took lessons when they were little, and they actually can still play today. One of my brothers, I hate him so much for this, but he can not touch a guitar or anything like that for years, and then just pick it up and just write a new song right off the bat.
Really?
You know, he's incredible.
Sure.
Another brother of mine plays drums, just naturally in him, the heartbeat. One of my sisters can sing really, really well.
Yeah.
And then we get it from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's a vocalist. She can sing and whatnot. And then she gets from her dad, who can play almost any instrument. It's amazing.
So everybody.
Yeah.
Wait. So I know your other brother, Sean. Does he play something?
No.
He doesn't. Come on, dude. But I mean,
not that I know of.
Yeah. But I know he's got passions of his own, though, for sure.
Yeah. There just had to be someone to break away from the family.
Yeah.
Sure, gotta be different. Man. Gotta be different. So you know, of course, we talk a lot about purpose and how it adds to our daily lives and daily routines. How do you think chasing and going after your purpose has shaped your life?
Man, if I hadn't chased this, I would be like everybody else and complaining on a daily basis about my dead-end job that I hate.
Right.
And my dead-end routine that I hate.
Right.
And I wouldn't have made a lot of the memories and had a lot of the experiences that I have had until now if I had not pursued this with everything I had.
Sure.
So, now you said you feel like you would be just like everybody else, you know, a dead-end job and stuff. Now, what, like, kind of, obviously there's steps that come before any of us here, you know what I mean? And so have you, I guess give us maybe even just a little, I guess, like, employment history, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you experienced the dead-end jobs? You know, what kind of, some things that have really pushed you towards pursuing this a little bit more adamantly, you know?
So I've had all kinds of jobs. I've been a dock boy. I've worked in a small factory. I was a barista for 7 years making coffee for people.
Okay. Oh, so you did make
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say you jumped right on and then just batting up people that make coffee for a living.
No, I did it for a long time. And then I started, once I got away from that, I got into a couple other jobs that paid a bit better. Actually, one of the best paying jobs I ever had was selling gravestones. I only did that for a little less than a year and it paid very, very well. Actually, I was making a lot more money than I ever had before.
Sure.
But I don't think I've ever been more depressed.
Yeah. That's a literal dead-end job.
Sure.
Yeah.
Literally,
Sure.
It just wasn't for me. It was a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and
I just got that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just it wasn't for me, and I'm just not built for that.
Right.
Just period. I'm not built for that.
Right.
Sure.
I don't thrive in a 9 to 5.
Right.
If I come to work at 10 p.m., that's awesome. If I go to work at 6 a.m., whatever,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll work a little bit in the morning, and then I don't work again until that night or whatever, and that's fine. And then I fill my day with other fun stuff.
Yeah.
But when I was at that job, I was making all this money. My wife was making good money. We had a nice apartment. We're both driving, either new or close to new cars. This the upstate dream or whatever. You know what I mean? But just miserable, absolutely miserable. I hated every minute of it. And it was a really easy job too. So it wasn't tasking. It wasn't stressful. Right. It was literally like 38 hours of Facebook and YouTube and 2 hours of working.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. So like nothing to complain about on the workload part.
Right.
But I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said that they want to go to the school down in Florida called Full Sail University, which is a basically everything media technical school, right? So they do film degrees, audio engineering degrees, art degrees, all kinds of stuff like that, right? But on a technical side, right? So all the people who are into making video games, not just playing video games, but they want to like get into the techie, nerdy stuff. Right. That's where they go.
Okay.
Right. So I was like, that seems pretty cool. So I got some information on it, and before I knew it, one of the admissions reps down there convinced me to fly down there to see the school, right? And it was kind of expensive, it was kind of like, oh man, am I really going to spend all this money to go down and see the school that I'm probably not going to go to? Right. And I flew down there for a weekend and saw the place. Instantly, I was like, this is it. This is what I have to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't spend any more time at this job. I have to pursue this thing. And backtrack a little bit to how I even got into, wanting to be an audio engineer at all was I went to this conference down in Pennsylvania called PWI. I forget what it stands for. But there's all these artists and recording engineers and this and that, and they're doing these little workshops with people on how to write music, how to record music, how to just have a mindset for music and stuff like that. And there was this one little maybe 1 hour class amongst all that music stuff, just about audio engineering, just the recording process. And I sat in on that, and I didn't care about anything else. At that point, I was like, I don't care about my own music anymore. I want to be in that process.
Was that your first exposure
that was my first exposure.
This side of the
yes.
This side of the glass?
Exactly. Yeah. I had been playing music my whole life. I can play almost anything with strings, or dabble, I should say.
Sure.
First time I performed was when I was 6 years old. Performed on stage at this bluegrass festival and stuff, and I loved it.
Nice.
I had been doing it throughout my whole life up until then, and that's I wanted to be like a lot of other musicians that I know, where you want to be in a band, you want to do this, you want to do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, once I saw that, I don't care about making music.
Sure.
I want to be on this side of the glass.
Right.
So, but then I kind of put that in the backseat for a while, right? Got in a serious relationship, got engaged, got married, went to college, blah blah blah. Then went through the jobs.
Not for music.
Not for music,
Not
just
for music.
JCC. Right.
Okay. Yep.
Did terrible there, by the way. Really, really bad. Barely graduated. Didn't take it seriously and stuff like that. Then was a barista. Got the other jobs. Started making more money. Just attitude towards life just going down. Right.
Sure.
Just not living the life that I should be living.
Yeah.
Right. And then went to Full Sail. Right. Quit the job. Left New York. Went down. Pursued this. Graduated third in my class. So I went from being an awful student at JCC because I was taking classes and learning stuff about stuff that I don't care about, to taking classes that were way harder, way more in depth, way more involved about stuff that I am passionate about.
Right.
And suddenly
it changes everything.
It was everything.
It changes it. I mean, I swear I failed and dropped out of numerous colleges because I was only going because I thought I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Because I thought I had to. I thought that was just the next step. And it wasn't until I got more involved with music and understanding, the artist, side of it in the business aspect as well, that I was like, man, I felt this urge to go back to school and learn. I went back for business. Yeah. And I was there, and every single class I was able to take all that knowledge and use that day. Turn around and use that day, and I'm like, that meant everything to me. I'm like, man, I wish everybody felt school like this. Yeah. Or understood that this is how school could be utilized. Yeah, I mean, definitely game changer. I want to go back because you said you quit your job when you went to Full Sail University, right? I remember the conversation that we first had when I came over here and you gave me the tour.
Yeah.
The conversation that stood out to me most was one about risk and reward.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it was this instance in which you quit the job and went to school, or if you quit another job. I don't know how many jobs you quit. But you said you would quit a well-paying job to maybe go on tour. Was tour with a band? That you made all these connections, or what was do you remember the convo that we had?
What was that conversation? I don't think I. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So I was actually working. You probably know him, Jamie Wood. He owns Page Fitness.
Yep.
Okay.
You know? Okay.
Yeah. So I was working for him as a personal trainer, and I said, "Hey, man, there's this band. They're going to Europe for a couple weeks. They want me to tour with them.
Right.
I know it's going to be really inconvenient on you, but I got to do this. And he was like, all right, it's going to suck without you, but you still got a job when you come back. Right. And I think our conversation was about, I took a risk on asking for that because whether he said yes or no, I was going.
Right.
Right. Whether I was going to have a job when I came back or not, I was going.
Right.
I had to. It's just, it wasn't an option to me.
Right.
Whether it's going to lead to more opportunities or not, it was an experience that was, it was important. And luckily he was gracious enough to say, yeah, do it, man. This is amazing. You should do this. We'll survive without you for a couple weeks.
Right.
But the risk versus reward thing I think we were talking about was I took a risk on having that conversation, saying, hey, man, I got to do this.
Sure.
Can you back me? Can you get behind me on this or whatever and work with me or whatever? And too many people aren't willing to even take that initial step. They're not even willing to have the conversation.
And to you, even from that conversation to this conversation, the risk versus reward already seems like such a reoccurring theme as far as going after your passion and your purpose. You're leaving a good paying job to go to Full Sail.
Yeah.
You're leaving the place that you call home, that you know. You're going to a different area. I mean, it's Florida, so it's not the worst. End up. But you don't necessarily know people, and you got to kind of restart all over.
Yeah.
What do you think? What is that driving factor? What does that feel like? How does that purpose help you overcome those obstacles? Like you say, a lot of people are afraid to ask. Do you think it's that purpose that helps you break down some of those barriers?
Yeah, I think I must have some form of drive in me that gets me to do these weird things and go on these patches.
Sure.
The form of purpose, but it's a lot of it is also kind of fear driven. I'm afraid of the alternative. Right. So basically my fear of not doing something, my fear of not being who I'm supposed to be, outweighs my fear of failing at trying.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things that sets people apart when they so a lot of passion and purpose and stuff leads us to fulfillment. Is that that's obviously the only way we're gonna be fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of what keeps people from seeking that fulfillment, kind of like you've done, is the fear. Especially if you said a lot of this time you were married, right? And you said that there's a kid in the works on the way. That's phrased among common folk. So and so even now there's a certain amount of risk. There's a responsibility that you have. You're not obviously just leaving your own life, but so a lot of people get put in this or accept this position, marriage, responsibility, stuff like that. Like you said, you guys had a nice apartment, you were driving nice vehicles and stuff, and there's a fear of losing that.
Yeah.
And so people won't take the risk, and people will settle for being unfulfilled and settle for a passionless or purposeless life.
Yeah.
Out of that fear, and to hear somebody who is passionate, who is actively seeking their goals, they look at that fear on the other side, a fear of being stuck in that mindset. Like you said, you're more afraid of being stagnant than of losing what you have. And so it's one of the, I love to hear that from people the most. One of the biggest things I love to hear from people is that kind of taking that fear of accomplishing nothing and using that to fuel, you know, a more motivating and a more passionate, more purposeful life. You know, so that's always really awesome to experience.
Another note on when I initially pursued it is that it wasn't easy. It wasn't just I made a decision and went.
Right.
Actually, everything stacked up against me right up until I got to Florida. So, for instance, the good paying job that I had, I should rephrase what I said. I didn't quit. I got fired. Okay. So I decided I wanted to go, but the semester didn't start for a few months. Plus I had so much to work out. You know, I had to get out of my lease, had to, you know, pay for, you know, a new lease down in Florida, had to figure out all these details. I had to move, you know, down the whole country, right? And the company I was working for was like, you don't want to work for us forever? You're done this Friday.
Oof.
Right. And it was like, oh, okay, well, there goes my income.
Sure.
Now we had just sold one of our cars to pay for us being able to move down there. Right, because we didn't have a lot of money in the bank. We weren't super good with our money at the times. You know, we were making good money, but we were playing pretty hard too. Yeah. So we had sold a car because we're like, we can survive down there with one car. We'll use this money to get down there and to get established and whatnot. And then a couple weeks, maybe a month. Yeah, I think maybe a month or so before we were supposed to move down there, we totaled our other car. And there's this thing called gap insurance, which everybody should have, and I did not have. And now I don't have a car, and I still owe $3,000 on the car that we just totaled. So now I'm out of money. I've got no money. I'm still on a lease. I don't have a job. Her job barely paid for our expenses, if at all. You know, it might have been a little bit under. So like things are just stacking up against me for even just trying to leave the state, you know, trying to get down there. I don't even remember exactly how it happened, but we somehow got out of our lease where basically we still had 6 months to go or something like that, and our landlord was like, awesome, man, actually, wait, where are you going? I was like, yeah, I want to go to Full Sail University. He was like, no way, I'm a Full Sail grad.
Hey, imagine that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I was like, no way. He was like, this is awesome. You should do this.
Right.
You're out of your lease. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right. So then we moved in with my wife's parents for the next month or whatever. We somehow came up with enough money. To get down there and to get that first month's rent. And she landed a job, or she lined up a job ahead of time that paid really well. That the hours were great. Nannying for this well-off family. Right. So somehow, even though everything was stacking up against us for months before I was supposed to leave, once it came time to go, everything just lined up.
And that's
and I had every opportunity to quit, every opportunity to say, no, I got to get another job. I'm not going to be able to do this. We don't have money. We don't have a car. We don't have this and that. You know, every opportunity to say this isn't going to happen. But there's a few times where I wanted to do that, but my wife was amazing enough to push me like, no, if you decided to do this, we got to do this. And I was like, you're right, we do have to do this. So.
And you know, and that goes to say the importance of having such a strong support system around you and the people that you keep around you. You know, I've heard, you know, whether it's your wife, you know, direct family members or the landlord, you know, that allows and helps and pushes you forward. You just can't put a price on that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's easy to spin that as us being lucky. You know, I'm lucky my wife was supportive. I'm lucky my landlord commiserated with me and understood where I was and supported me. I'm lucky. So even you said when you went to Europe, Jamie there, he was supportive and said, you have a job when you come back. You know what I mean? So it seems, you know, we can say that that's luck and stuff, but a lot of it, if we continue forward, if we're truly passionate and we truly believe in our purpose and what we're doing, you know, we find those people. It's inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, and having an amazing support structure in your wife, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that a lot of that's very mutual. You know, you support her, she supports it. I think it has to be. You know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I think the more you drive forward and stuff, and I mean, you know, you could say you were almost lucky to have a boss that fired you. You know, when they decided that you weren't going to be there, they fired you. Well, now you have to make the decision. All right, is this what I really want? You know, and it instills that fortitude in you.
Absolutely.
Forward, you know, and just you know, the more you go through these hardships instead of totaling your car and stuff, well, that just, you know, proves to you even more that your wife is there to support you, and that just encourages that, you know, that it builds that courage in you to continue forward. You know what I mean? So the more you strive and the harder you work, man, I think it's just inevitable to attract people who are going to support you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I and that's always been one of the things that has been so interesting to me, is that once you do find this purpose or this passion, it changes your perspective. I find that it changes your perspective to where now all these obstacles become opportunities, you know, to overcome. You know, all these people that start standing out, you know, you're like, man, that's a sign. It feels like a sign. It's interpreted as a sign, you know. And I just think that perspective is such a gift, because it changes not just when it comes to moving after your passion, doing things you're passionate about, but just even the mundane things. Yeah. You know, like being a barista or doing something that you might need to do for work in order to obtain a certain goal. Like now it's every day's not that bad. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we talk about stuff like that. Gratitude, just being appreciative, just on a daily basis. You know, it's just such a game changer, man.
It is.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And you know, and it blows my mind, because you know, I speak of signs, and you know, here I am. I feel like once again I've come full circle, because War Drum Mixing, when I first moved up to Watertown, New York, it didn't exist, and until I met Rob Malloy. Mutual friend of ours. I met him at it was an open mic, and we both just started chatting about, you know, what we do and maybe what some of our goals were. And he was very, you know, he was very confident in his skill, and he was very smart and articulate. And you know, I played him, you know, some of the stuff I had made previously, you know, and he's like, you know, we should get together, we should make music sometime. And I said, well, because I was about it now. I was ready now. I was like, let's do it tomorrow. It was a Saturday night. I said, let's do it. If you're about it, let's do it tomorrow. It was a Sunday. And I found a lot of people make music. A lot of people love music. But not everybody, it's not always a priority. You know? So next day, shows up right on time. Dude shows up in my house with a guitar in one hand and a bass in the other. And we just started jamming. You know, in my little studio that I had set up. And that was the start of Out Chasing Lions. The band. And it was the first band I've ever been in, you know, first time I'm writing songs or anything like this. So that changed my whole life completely. You know, we were writing this original music, and we'd either be at my studio or his studio that he had. And we just happened to be using the same program. And so everything was clicking and firing on all cylinders. So we were recording the music, and we were playing out live. And I saw him, still even now, War Drum Mixing didn't exist, but his inclination toward audio engineering and mixing started to grow, his interest in it. And, you know, he first time that he went overseas, because he was military, is military still, he read through the whole, I think it was the Logic Pro pamphlet. He read through the whole.
The only person to ever read it, besides the person who wrote it.
And we're talking, and this is thick, you know, it's thick. And so he read through that, self-taught, watched YouTube videos. I mean, this dude had a passion, purpose, driven, you know, the epitome of all these things that we talk about. And he came home from that, self-taught, and just went to work. He had the idea for the label, you know what I mean? And this was just something that started in a little home studio, and to watch this idea grow and start to have other talented people and other driven people gravitate, you know, toward these same ideas and principles. And really, that's how you and I met. You know, through like-minded individuals, Bob Malloy, you know, all of us connecting with War Drum Mixing. And now there's a location right here in Watertown. There's one in Savannah, Georgia, that they built from the ground up. There's one over in
Manchester, United Kingdom.
Manchester United. Like, this is overseas. You know,
Yeah.
ideas and work ethic and passions and to see it spread like this. And everyone that I've met through this are like, they speak the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Conversation is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Everybody is so positive, you know, talented, and it's grateful to be a part. But like, I would love to hear your side of the story and how you met Rob and how you got affiliated with Wardrum.
Yeah. So for starters, everybody needs a Rob Malloy
Everybody.
in their life.
Sure.
Everybody needs one of them.
Sure.
In there. What a great dude. So I met him maybe 4 years ago, I think. I think end of 2015. So
Mhm.
And I met him through church because he was playing on one of the teams, and I just got hired at a church to be the sound guy. And a couple of people were like, "Oh, you got to meet this guy Rob. He's an audio engineer also. He does, he knows sound stuff." I was like, "All right, yeah, cool. I'll talk to him." And so him and I chatted a little bit, and it was a little bit one of those like kind of comparing sticks kind of thing, like who knows more, this and that.
Sure.
And what we found was like we were like right in the middle. He knew a lot more about the digital world. I knew a lot more about the analog world. And it was like, yeah, we should hang out sometime, you know,
That's awesome.
right? And so we did. And we're just playing, music for each other that we've worked on, and talking about ideologies of it all and stuff. And man, let me tell you what, Rob and I could not be more opposites.
Really?
In so many ways.
Okay.
But we complement each other in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
We strengthen each other in so many ways where each other are weak.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's one of those people that if I start, going down, he picks me up. If he starts going down, I pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And also on the business aspect of it all, I've got the talent, the know-how, the skill set, to be an audio engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about business.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas when Rob came along, he was starting this business for drum mixing.
Yep.
And he was like, I need more people around me like you. People who know how to do this, people who can do this, and we'll work together on the business stuff, right?
Right.
So I've learned so much from him. He's single-handedly changed my life in so many ways with this company.
Yes.
War drum mixing wouldn't exist without him.
Right.
For sure. It would still be probably just me in a smaller studio, recording the occasional person that came my way or whatever.
Sure.
But he's helped turn it into so much more.
Sure.
And obviously combined effort between a lot of different people and stuff like that. But he's just such a great guy, and I'm so lucky to have him in my life.
Absolutely.
Where were we on that though?
Met him 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Opposite, complimented each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said, "Hey, we should start. We
Oh.
should build something."
Yeah. He he told me his ideas for War Drum. He actually already had the logo done and stuff like
Of course
that.
he did.
And he had it in a little picture frame on his desk. I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That's a really cool logo. But I didn't think much of it at first until he had to go away for something work related with the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, hey, I got to go away for the weekend, but I have this recording session set up with this band, this rock band. Can you do it for me? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I do the session for him. It works out great. Have a great time. I did it in his studio, and then it happened maybe one more time. And then he was like, "Hey, we could do this."
Mm.
And what do you mean we could do what? He's like, "This. We could build something off of this." I can handle. I know way more about mixing and mastering and the business side, and way more about actually working with the clients and the studio right there. We could play off each other's strengths, and we could build something here. I was like, I think you might be right. I think we could. And we started just coming up with all these ideas and starting just putting things into action, and we just ran for it.
Mm-hmm.
We picked a direction and we just hauled it. And then we basically just haven't stopped.
Sure.
The direction changes every now and again, because we might get a few degrees off, whatever,
Right.
off course, but we just keep going, keep pushing, keep changing. keep getting better. You know, and we keep trying to add more and more people in our lives who are better than us at things that we can help and can help us. That's when a guy named Victor came into the picture. So I was scrolling through Facebook, and I was on one of the forums, audio engineering forums, and there's this comment saying, "Hey, anybody know any studios that do mixing? I need some mixing work done." A guy named Victor Sonis, I think was his Facebook name.
Right.
And I tagged Rob in it. I was like, "Hit up this guy. He's awesome." Right. And so they do a song or two together, and it works out really well. And they keep in communication for a while. And then Rob says, "Hey, this guy's music is amazing. What if we were to expand this idea that we have a little bit more and start making music for clients? I really think that this guy could do it." So I meet him. He's a great guy. He is insanely talented. I mean, he's on a whole other level of music production. And so we all start working together, and then he becomes one of the partners. Right. So now Victor's the third partner of Wardrum Mixing, and now we've got me. My strengths are recording. I work directly with the clients. I'm there in the moment. I'm there in the mud, right?
Right.
Then I pass our work to Rob, who then mixes and masters and stuff like that. But also, before any of that, Victor comes into play, where he makes the music for the clients and stuff like that. He somehow sucks ideas out of them and then turns it into this magic dust that comes out of the speakers. It's incredible. But we're all just playing off each other's skills and talents and whatnot. So it's just three people who somehow came together. In this weird thing. And now we're adding more people. We've got some interns who are really talented. We just hired a guy named oh my gosh. Sorry, I just got
blanking on the name.
Yeah. Cliff, I'm sorry, bro. Oh man, yeah, Cliff Allen.
He's from Watertown, right?
He's from Watertown, which is super weird because he's down in Savannah. And then Rob got him as an intern, and we liked him so much. He's so talented. He's awesome to work with. He's actually running our Savannah location right now while Rob's out of town. And we were like, we gotta hire this guy. Like he's almost done with his internship, but we can't lose him. We gotta keep him.
Dude, it's so funny because so with the band I have right now, I would always tell the story on how it came together. And my bass player Justin Reynolds, I was telling him how I met Rob and how he's just so good at what he does, and he's got a great vision and very adaptable, and he turned his talents to audio engineering, and I always talk him up. And he would speak the same of his friend Cliff, that he grew up with, good friends with, great at what he does. And this whole time that we're talking back and forth, we had no idea that these two actually knew each other. And so one day we figured out this dude was working. I think he came from Texas, right? He was living in Texas, because this is where Justin was living with him. They shared an apartment in Texas. And eventually he made that trip to Georgia to start working Wardrum. However that happened. But I'm like, it's just amazing, all these individual connections, and how it really works out this way. I mean, it makes it seem like such a small world. But with Victor, real quick about him, he's someone I've worked with recently. We all collaborated. I had an idea for a song called "Just Say When," and I was talking to Rob about it, and he kind of like scratched it out a little bit on his guitar and passed it on to Victor, who I guess just does whatever he wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he does his thing with it.
He's like, just tell me what you need. And I told him, and he added the bass to it. He of course with Rejoice, who's another connection out that way.
Had
her on the song. Oh my God.
She's amazing.
So this song came together in a matter of like 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, with everybody focused on it and working on it. And the end product was just amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
But I just think it's funny how, like I keep saying before, we keep meeting these like-minded people, and the importance of when we do meet these people. This is something else I think Rob is really good with, is maintaining that connection and building with it.
Yeah.
and building out those connections, man.
Yeah.
There's such an importance in that. That's something I probably have to get better at. You know, my mind kind of jumps from, you know, one moment to the next. But he's always good at, you know, reeling it back in and staying in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so now you guys are up and running. You're right here. In, so before, you had a beautiful studio at your place. I'm sure it's still there. You redid your whole attic up on the 3rd floor. It was all soundproof, you know. And I had gone there a couple of times to record. Yeah. But this was out in Dexter. Yep. Now you guys are right here. I mean, this is downtown Watertown.
Yeah. So this is War Drum Mixing housed in Sprig Studios. So Sprig is another studio and record label that works primarily with Christian artists, right? And then they have now opened their doors to War Drum to come in and work out of here as well, which is awesome. So now we've integrated a lot of our equipment, a lot of our stuff with theirs, and there's a few different engineers working out of here, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. But yeah, the space is it's amazing. Dude, designed by Peter and Christopher Hopper. Okay. Two really talented guys. Peter Hopper was in the industry for over 40 years. Just recently retired. Still does things every now and again, but you know, mostly retired. Really, really great guy. I got to work with him for a couple of years before he retired, and man, I learned a lot from him. Sure. Amazing, super humble too. Yeah. Really, really humble. That's great. So fun to talk to. Type of guy that, you know, he might occasionally tell a story, and then you know, he might accidentally slip a name, and you're like, hold on, hold on, who was that you said? Yeah. You know. Sure. You know, he never wants to brag, but you know, he loves sharing knowledge. Yeah. That's got to be great to be around that sort of history. Oh, yeah. You know, because I can only imagine that coming into fruition through his purpose, his passion, and the amount of stories, you know, that he must have, you know, coming up with that. What do you guys here at War Drum Mixing, what do you guys have to offer the public? So, I mean, our main mission is to give a high quality service to artists on a budget. Now, because we live in upstate New York, the average income is not high, right? So you just can't charge certain rates like you would down in New York City or even out in Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, things like that. It's two different dynamics, right? So we are not about the money; we're about the art, right? You know, if you're willing to take yourself seriously, we'll take you seriously, sure, right? But yeah, I mean, basically, it's really all about, you know, if people have a project, if people have a goal, something that they want to go after, I'll meet them there. You know, I'll go along with them, right? Right up until they either get there or until they decide it's not for them. Sure. So, you guys do basic vocal tracking. You can also record full bands. Yeah. So it's bands, it's individual artists. It's all of the above. Yeah. I mean, so War Drum as a whole is capable of the whole process. The whole process. Right. From making music to recording the music, mixing, mastering, and then even uploading digitally, you know, onto all the different platforms and whatnot. Sure. We're capable of the whole process. Yeah. That's terrific, man. Yeah.
So one thing real quick, I've been dying to ask this, and then I keep seeing the theme pop back up and up and up, is change. One of the things you talked about a bunch of times. Like I said, every time the question was on the tip of my tongue, it would pop back up, and just in the conversation, right? Being adaptable, and being willing to accept that change and stuff. And so a lot of times, I think what a lot of people experience, and definitely myself personally, I've experienced a lot, Quince, we've talked a lot about this, is how our purpose changes and how it shifts and stuff. So, I mean, you talked about the first time you performed, you were 6 years old. And then throughout the course of your life, I mean, you're not 21. You know what I mean? You went to college and then you quit, and then you had you graduated. You had, what you said, you were a barista for 7 years, right? So that takes up some time. So over the course of all this time now, you've had a bunch of different experiences that have shaped you, and through getting fired and chasing different dreams and going to Florida and stuff. There has to have been a lot of change in like what you felt your sense of purpose was. And I think I've had this experience as well, whereas I have to refigure my purpose or re-understand my purpose, and there's a little bit of like a mental breakdown there, a little bit of depression or anxiety or being scared, that fear kind of crops up, and I don't actually know what I'm doing. So can you kind of speak to that as it resonates with you, kind of redefining your purpose, and then a lot of that even just in, from what it sounds like in your time with War Drum, the purpose of beginning it and where you guys are now, the purpose you've kind of culminated it to, and then where you see yourselves going, kind of your purpose from being 6 years old in your first performance until now.
It's a lot there. So I guess one thing I'll touch on just super quick is you mentioned like depression, anxiety, fear, and whatnot, and that's gonna come up a lot with anything. And you can't let it control you, and you have to interpret it.
Right.
I think so.
Right.
For instance, when I'm scared of something, I have to center myself and think, why am I scared?
Sure.
Am I scared because I'm afraid to fail? Am I scared because I think it's a bad idea? Am I scared just because I care so much about this? Because if you can center yourself and go back to that, you can let it be a driving force, or even help you form a decision about something. Especially something that could be life-changing, or at least changing enough to affect you over the next 3 to 5 years. Same goes for anxiety and depression. Are you just in a down season, and what's the reason for it? Why are you feeling that way? Okay, it's a slow season, studio's not doing really well, I'm starting to feel down, I feel like maybe I'm failing, maybe this or that. So should I quit? Or should I adapt? Should I take this as an opportunity to do something else, or to change my focus towards a few other things, because it's going to circle back. Things will pick back up and things will happen, because one thing I'm confident about with the studio is that we do a great job, we give a great product. People love working with us. So it's not a matter of people came here and they don't want to come back. Just something is going on that's outside of my control. Right? So I can't stress about it. I can't let it get me down. I can't let it affect my mood or affect who I am or who I think I am. So all right, I guess I'll take this as an opportunity to maybe work on getting back into writing my own music a little bit. Or maybe I'll take it as an opportunity to start working on other projects that aren't work related, or things like that, so there's always things happening, and things changing, constant change, and if you're not changing, then it's going to get stale pretty quick.
Sure.
So there's just a little bit on that side.
I like how you always say, so I'll take this as an opportunity too. I think that's a great phrase to go by, for sure.
Well, and that, a lot of the same things, Quince and I, before we do an episode, we always try to sit down and at least, get on the same page, have some questions together and stuff, and understand, where maybe we want the conversation, or things we want to know from you and stuff. And one of the things I said, I kind of said it jokingly a little bit, but I told Quince, I was like, well, it's like Danny's, he's motivated, he's obviously doing big things, he's successful, fulfilling his purpose and stuff. I was like, we're gonna come into the same topics we always talk about, and like I said, kind of jokingly, but kind of seriously. One of the, you talk about essentially, to me, what I understand is developing a sense of gratitude, understanding your own capabilities. I define it as kind of coexisting with negative emotions. So when you feel anxious or sad or scared, you process it, you feel it, you honor that emotion in yourself, and then you adapt to it, and you move forward. So it's so incredible to see people who have put themselves in a position to feel fulfillment and to find purpose and passion in life, just consistently. The way everybody kind of develops a very, very similar mindset, and understanding what's in your control, not letting it affect you when it's not in your control, and being very focused on always being positive with the actions you take in response to whatever stimulus there is. So it's always really exciting and for me to hear that kind of thing just replicated so consistently, and then makes sense why we're sitting here having this conversation. Is we, like I said at the beginning, it's inevitable to find like-minded people and people you can have similar conversations with, that have similar mindsets and stuff like that, if you continually focus on it and build from it.
Mhm.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So carry on, please. So shaping your purpose through work.
Yeah.
But we talk a lot because he's a musician as well,
Okay.
but also a part of that creating an artistry is put toward jiu-jitsu and physical combat. But we were speaking about how it's interesting that no matter what our purpose or passion is, whether it's music or combat or running a business, like it really can be anything that you can make an art out of as far as your mindset.
Mhm.
And it's so what tends to be what connects us all is that drive and that purpose and that process that we can all relate to and relate with.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we always end up meeting these driven individuals,
Yeah.
meeting people that are like us, or they stand out. They stand out more because I meet a lot of people, all day, every day, and they're great. But there are certain ones that just stand out more. Now, is that because of something they're doing, or is it because of how I perceive it? They wouldn't stand out to me if I wasn't doing what I'm doing as far as the work, as far as the sort of goal setting or the vision that I have. So I mean that's always very super interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit on the standing out too is, it sounds so cliche. You hear it a lot, but I think you hear it a lot because it needs to be said a lot because people aren't getting it, which is that you got to be you.
Sure.
I work with so many people, and I meet so many people that just remind me of so many people.
Sure.
And there's no individuality or them pursuing something that is just them. Right. Not they saw something cool in somebody else and now they're trying to copy it. Right. They're trying to be somebody else. They're trying to be somebody else. They're trying to be somebody else. They're miserable.
Sure.
Even if they succeed in becoming somebody else, they're miserable.
Yeah.
Right.
They weren't supposed to be that person.
Right.
Another thing, not to hijack this whole thing,
No,
but
do it.
I think it would be important to talk a little bit about grounding yourself and finding something that keeps you grounded, keeps you leveled. So I just thought about it when you said that you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about a year, maybe a year and a half, and then I did Taekwondo for about 6 years beforehand.
Right.
And that was humongous in keeping me grounded, keeping me leveled out. Because whether I am going through a really great season or a really bad season, I have a lot of anxiety, right? But when I was basically taking time to work on myself, whether it was physically, whether I was competing or whether I was just doing the mental aspect of martial arts and things like that, it kept me grounded. It kept me leveled out. It was a place for me to direct all that angst and all that anxiety. Right now, I don't do martial arts or anything like that anymore, but I do lift. I work out absolutely minimal 2 days a week. 2 days a week is bad for me. It's 3 to 5 days a week, but I'm just a monster and a jerk at home if I don't.
Sure.
Right? Because I have all this angst and all this stuff that I'm not grounded. Right? I might, it's not a matter of just getting. It's not even just a matter of getting the energy out because I work a lot. I'm tired at the end of the day, no matter what, because I work so much. But when I go to the gym, that's my sanctuary.
Sure.
I go there. It's me and the weights. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about that person that pissed me off earlier, or that person that this or that, or this person that stabbed me in the back. None of that. Yeah. It's me and the weights, and I get to just process my days, process my weeks, process what's going on in my life.
It's a different expression of that energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all the stuff that builds up in me during the week, I let it go there.
Yeah.
Right. Found an outlet for it. No, I definitely relate to that because honestly, I think that's kind of how this connection it happened because that's why I started going to boxing and in kickboxing, things like that, because that's very ground. I mean, there's nothing more grounded than getting hit in the face. Every once in a while I
Nothing
need
will put
it.
you more in the moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking about anything else. It's
You can't be thinking about
No.
anything else.
Right.
no. So I find it so true, whether it's boxing or running or going to the gym.
Mhm.
It's finding an outlet is important.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be something physical either.
Right.
For some people, even though they don't make any money with it, it's not job related, it's nothing like that. Maybe it's drawing.
Sure.
Maybe it's anything.
Mhm.
I know some people that just go for a drive.
Yeah.
They actually take the time out of the week. I spend a couple hours in the car every week just driving around
Mm-hmm.
because I just got to think about stuff.
Well, I think it's finding what connects you to that moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to have. I mean, no matter what you do, sometimes it can be mundane. Even if you find yourself in a position where you're putting your passion to use and your job is your purpose and stuff. You say like you never work a day in your life. So like you said, some nights you'll go to work at 10 p.m. Some
Mhm.
nights you'll be at work at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? And yeah, I get that schedule for sure.
Yeah.
I was at the gym for my clients at 7 o'clock this morning, and then my last class for the night is at 8 p.m. tonight.
Mhm.
But I have the time during the day to fill it up with other things, and
Yep.
those are crazy hours and stuff, and it's great, and I don't feel like it's taxing or anything, but it's still, to a certain extent, especially the way it occupies your mind, it can be work,
Yeah.
so even though it's passion and it's purposeful and we really enjoy it, there still has to be that outlet where
Mhm.
we really connect to the moment and we don't think about anything else,
Yeah.
and so luckily for me, I'm in a position where I can roll. After jiu-jitsu, I stick around for open mat a little bit, and like last night we rolled, I don't know, just a few rounds and just really smashed it out and stuff when we got done. And the windows of the gym were all fogged up because it was cold outside, it was warm in the gym, and I just, I just felt great. I just felt calm and everything was out, but you really connect to that moment.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different for everybody, and you have, it doesn't necessarily have to involve your purpose or your passion and stuff. And a lot of times it involves something outside of that.
Yeah.
Something
Absolutely,
like you
yeah.
said, drawing or driving or whatever, what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
said, weights don't really have anything to do with mixing and stuff. And
Yeah,
that's
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's your connection, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so beautiful, and that's
Yeah.
your time,
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with my home life. Doesn't have anything to do with any of my jobs.
Right.
I mean, actually, I have a few friends at the gym, but the mass majority of my friends aren't at the gym.
Sure.
So it is truly separate from the rest of my life.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess that touches on, because I wanted to maybe talk about your daily routine, because I knew the gym was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else that's part of your daily, or do you have things that are that you keep in mind that are kind of like habits for your own personal success?
Mm-hmm.
As far as just keeping your life balanced in general.
Mm-hmm. I would say the thing that I paid the most attention to is sleep. That is, I put the most mental effort in my day. Like, a lot of things slip up here and there because I have quite a few different jobs in different industries that I focus on, all in the tech world. But and the schedules with them are crazy, right? Because I might get a call from you saying, "Hey, can we get in the studio tomorrow?"
Sure.
Right? Or I get people saying, "Hey, you got any time tonight?" Or I have somebody out in Buffalo saying, "Hey, we've got this big install tomorrow morning. Can you be there 7 a.m.? It's in Buffalo." It's like, all right, so my life is crazy. It can be hard to plan things around. But one thing that I can plan, one thing that I can control is how much sleep I get.
Sure.
Right. So if I know that, all right, I gotta be out there at 7 a.m. It takes 3 hours to get out there. I gotta go to bed at this time, so that I get a minimum of 7 to 8 hours. Right. And if you have a routine of, hey, I gotta look at my phone for half an hour before I can fall asleep, factor it in.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Factor it in. All right, I guess I'm not watching TV tonight. I guess
Right.
I'm eating dinner and going to bed.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Because that's a huge part. Because when your sleep goes down, everything goes down.
Sure.
Right, your mood goes down. You might not be hungry, and then without calories, you're getting tired. Without sleep, you're getting tired. You just can't handle things like you could when you actually get sleep. So for me, that's the number one thing. Number two is I make sure I feed myself.
Sure.
So food is really important. I don't have the best diet in the world. I go in seasons of, sometimes I'll be vegan, really strict, and, I feel amazing. And then I'll take some time off eating a bunch of other stuff. I love pizza, dude. I love pizza, you know what I mean? But no matter what.
Thing I'm gonna jump in just because I've been fascinated by it every time you've done it. It's completely off track. I'll try to wrap it up quick so we can get back to what you're talking about. But you use the word seasoned a lot. And I absolutely love that verbiage because it speaks to kind of like the ephemeral nature of everything that we experience.
Yeah.
So it's all short term and it's all passing. And that I think that's a natural byproduct of kind of your mindset and stuff. But
absolutely.
You like I said, you keep using that word, and every time you use it, I'm like, yeah. Like, see, and I mean, diet is just so relatable. Dieting, moods, motivation, and stuff like that. Like, they're all seasonal. They all come and they go.
Yeah,
so
they're always changing.
Absolutely fascinated by that. Please continue.
So the food thing, I don't skip meals. Period. Even if it's even it works out to be where like, I could probably have eaten something better here, I still ate.
Sure.
Right. Because that's a big part of my goals with the gym, right? So if I go into the gym hungry and tired, and if I can't get into my zone there, and I can't have my me time there, then that affects things a lot. Right. But also just I weigh almost 240 pounds now.
Right.
So I'm trying to get in some heavy lifting stuff. So I need it for that too. But now beyond that, part of my routine, I spend a lot of time in the car, especially with all this. I do a lot of integration. So I do a lot of tech installs. I install big lighting systems, video conferencing systems, speaker setups and stuff like that. And I go to Rochester and Buffalo a lot for that, and Syracuse a lot for that. So I spend a minimum of 2 hours in the car, and usually a maximum of 6 hours in the car, Monday through Friday. So in that, I get a lot of mental time, a lot of mental space, which that's really important to me. I'm a social butterfly. I love being around people, but I need my alone time too.
Right.
So that has to be part of my routine, right? Whether it's doing podcasts, listen to music, making sure that I have time to think about things and to just, have to myself.
Reflect.
Reflect.
Sure.
That's interesting too because we talked about so you talked about grounding yourself and kind of talked about the gym and stuff and how it's important to be connected to the moment and just be completely connected to what you're doing, not think about anything else. But in the same way, especially having mental time and a lot of commuting time and stuff, it's also important to be able to like disconnect from everything else that's going on. Especially like you said, being social and love being around people. Sometimes it's really nice to just be able to not have to do that.
Absolutely.
And to appreciate that disconnect from everything else. So that's another interesting kind of the importance of both ends of that spectrum.
For sure.
So you have your routine, some things that you're pretty strict about, focusing on sleep, which is probably the most important thing when you look into like psychological studies, physical studies. Anybody who trains significantly is going to tell you that's the most important thing you do for yourself is sleep. And then you stay regimented with eating, and like you said, whether or not you're eating necessarily well, you're still staying on that schedule. This is when I have to eat, and I think stuff like that makes it easier. So when you want to shift your focus, so you said you're trying to put on weight from the sounds of it, you're getting into heavier lifting and stuff like that. So you don't have to switch up your eating habits to eating 6 times a day. You just have to maybe change what's fitting in that time slot. So it kind of makes it easier making smaller changes within the routine than trying to completely change your routine. Yeah, for sure. And then the alone time in the vehicle and stuff. So kind of what else building into these your daily habits?
Let me think here. I mean, besides that, everything else changes so frequently.
Sure.
I definitely have to make sure that I have family time.
Right.
Sure. I'm married. I got a daughter on the way and whatnot.
Awesome.
So spending time with my wife is very, very important to me. It doesn't happen every night.
Right.
I try to make it happen as much as possible.
Right.
And a lot of times I have to say no to things because it's like, all right, I've been in hotels this week because of work. So this Saturday and Sunday, I gotta say no to work. I gotta say no to friends. I gotta say no to this. I might not go to the gym this weekend because I know she misses me and I miss her. You know, so things like that are, you know, just make sure that I keep that a priority because it's important.
Right. Yeah. Understanding priorities and
Yeah,
making
absolutely.
the sacrifices necessary to keep your priorities. One thing we've talked about before, but you can only be good at so many things at one time.
Mhm.
So they say like 2 to 3
yeah.
things max. And so even in the course of one day, if you put all, you know, if you're putting your energy into sleeping, it's one, right?
Mhm.
And then you want to make sure that your family life is solid. So that's two. So that's 2 very important things to focus on.
Mhm.
And then the third, you know, might be able to shift kind of day to day, but that means that there's a lot of things, and there's 10, 12, 15 things that could happen in the day.
Yeah.
A lot of things you got to say no to,
Mhm.
depending on what your priorities are for that moment, you know, which I think is
Yeah.
is a huge thing to focus on as well. I think people have a tendency to get really disappointed because they want to be good. I want to be, you know, I want to be strong at the gym.
Mhm.
I also want to be lean, which can be like competing dichotomies sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
I want to get a lot of sleep, but I want to have 20 hours in the day where I can be busy, and people start getting frustrated because you can't be good at all these things
Oh,
all the
absolutely.
time, you know. Understanding and appreciating the necessity of prioritizing things
Mhm.
is huge for
Mhm.
ultimately being successful and happy, really,
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, certainly balance is key, and and a lot of these routines, a lot of these habits for success, I think, allow for balance. You know,
Mhm.
we talk about Marcus Aurelius's 6 tenets for just how he starts his day, how he ends his day, always the same,
Mhm.
and it kind of creates the framework for which we live our life through. You know,
Mhm.
or adds to the soil from which things grow.
Yeah.
You know, enriches the soil. So, yeah, all good stuff, man. I don't know. I think I saw you pop up to look at the time. I don't know how we were doing.
No, Alex Slur gave us a little shout out there, man. So Alex, what's up, brother? Appreciate you
What up, dude?
popping in. I don't know if you're still there, but thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Drummer for Out Chasing Lions.
Yes.
He's,
What up, bro?
I guess a decent dude. He's all right.
Yeah, he's alright. But I mean, you know, I knocked out of my list. You know, and more in that, man. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoyed you having us, welcoming us here. Make sure you guys go. You know, check out the links. I'm assuming you put the actual link right to Wardrobe.
Yeah, I'll throw that up.
Yes, check out the links in the comments below.
Mhm.
Come check it out for yourself. Reach right out to Danny Allen, you know, directly.
Yeah.
He'd love to show you around the place. It's right downtown in
Absolutely.
Watertown, New York.
Yeah, beautiful place. We have a lot of fun
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah,
Just,
I love this spot.
This
I love
little
this
bit
spot.
you see in the background is, I mean, not even the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
The actual recording space is gorgeous. The entire facility is
Huge.
amazing.
Huge.
And for me, this is our first chance to sit and get
Mhm.
to chat a little bit. I had a lot of fun
Yeah.
getting to know you a little bit, and I'm really excited to see kind of how you guys continue to grow and expand, and you know, what you can offer the community, and you know, kind of the way that resonates and it expands from here. So I'm really pumped for the future for War Drum and
Yeah,
for you
thanks,
guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
So
So thank you guys for joining in another day 1 Cage Side Convos. Hold down upstate, War Drum mixing all in the house. So
all right,
appreciate
hey guys,
y'all.
we'll see you next week.